And we're going to jump right in to the final section of Think by Design. And those of you who have been joining in the 3 weeks, we've been working through really the 4 primary questions to help design the life that you want. Really, when people ask me, what is Think by Design? I describe Think by Design as it's a process to uncover the root of what you want out of your life, and then to make sure that you actually have a system in place to consistently work toward creating the life of your dreams. So that's what really Think by Design is. It's not telling you what to think. It's not telling you even really how to think. It's just giving you really the idea is to stimulate your own thinking, because we all have this amazing, we're walking around with this amazing supercomputer in our skull, and it has the capacity to dream up the life that you want, and then to actually determine what's the best way for you to work toward creating that life. When we break down the Think by Design, there's really 8 branches, and you can think of this as the 8 fundamental or foundational kind of components of your life. So we talked about last week, my health, my intellect, which would relate to the health of your mind specifically, my inner state, or you could think of that as spirituality, my family. Most of us on the call here have a family, which is likely one of your top values. So what we incorporate that as a primary pillar or branch of Life by Design. My relationships, my career, my finances, and my legacy. Those you can, each one of those categories, of course, those are the big topics. We could do a whole seminar series on each one of those. We choose to just focus in on the number 1, which is your health, because everything stems from your health. We know that most of us don't give too much thought to our health until we lose it, right? And when you lose your health, then it becomes your primary focus. If anyone on the call is actually dealing with any health concerns, any chronic health problems, you know that when your health starts to decline, that becomes a major detractor from your overall life. And often it becomes your primary focus so that you can regain your health. So the purpose of going through this exercise is to hopefully, prior to any sort of health declines occurring, you're actually able to think through, okay, well, what do I actually believe about my health? What do I want? What does my optimum health look like? Or what does my ideal health look like? And then today we're going to actually talk about what those last 3 questions, the vision, purpose, and then the action plan. I just wanted to touch base. I had a couple of thoughts after last week. Step 1 is to ask the question, what do I believe? And when we consider beliefs, it's not something that most of us really think about too much, right? We just kind of walk around with these a set of beliefs that drive our actions. But if you think about where people get most focused on is on the results. That's actually the section, or that's the part of our reality that we are most aware of, right? It's like, what am I dealing with? And you could ask the question, okay, am I happy with the results I'm experiencing when it comes to my health? And oftentimes, and what actually culture really teaches us, is to cycle between actions and results. So we may let's say, for example, you're trying to lose weight. Okay, let's say you're unhappy with your body composition. Okay, that's a really common one. So that's the result. So I'm unhappy with my body composition. What culture teaches us is like, okay, I just need to do something different. Okay, obviously what I'm doing isn't giving me the results I want. So we'll cycle back to some different, maybe we'll try a new diet, or we'll try a new exercise plan. And that may give you the best result, it may give you the result you're looking for, it may not. And we often just cycle back and forth between actions and then analyzing the results. And I think what society doesn't really lay down for us is that all of our actions are based on beliefs. So let's say, for example, it's you decide, okay, I'm going to change my diet. So the action is changing the diet. But if what the dietary changes that you make is based on maybe incomplete or false beliefs. For example, the last 50 years we've been told that saturated fat is bad for you. Okay, so the society has taught us the belief that saturated fat is bad, and so most diets are low in saturated fat. Now, over the last 10 years, we've learned that actually high quality saturated fat is a health food. It's something that your body absolutely requires to be healthy. But if you don't know that, if you're not aware of that reality, that truth, then you could continue to cycle between actions and results and maybe not get the results you're looking for. So that's why we always want to cycle back to beliefs. And that's what we spent last week talking about. The other thing about beliefs that really, I think I spend most of the time on this because it's really the foundation to everything is the beliefs that we're walking around with. And we can actually have beliefs that fall into any one of these quadrants. So beliefs can either be empowering or limiting, and they can also be false or true. And we're always, all of us, myself included, I'm no different. I'm walking around currently with beliefs that are false and limiting. And the goal of this exercise like Think by Design is to reduce the number, uncover what false beliefs you hold and replace them with true beliefs, and also uncover limiting beliefs that may be holding you back and replace those with empowering beliefs. So an example of this when it comes to your health could be, one that I hear all the time. Okay, in practice, a limiting belief would be, I have this chronic back pain. It really stops me from. The problem is that stops me from being able to exercise. And the limiting belief that a lot of people would have in that case is, back problems just come with aging. It's just a normal part of aging. And so if you hold that belief, you can imagine someone who holds that belief, they're never going to actually expect to feel better. Okay, or they're always going to expect to have this limitation on their physical capabilities. Whereas if we replace that with an empowering belief, it's actually true, the body is designed to heal, and there's most of us have a very we don't get to experience the true capacity of the body's ability to recover function, but it's possible, right? And so if we have hold the belief that I know that my body, given the right resources and the right amount of time, it has the capacity to heal. So that would be an empowering belief. Anything is possible. An example of false belief I already referred to is that the saturated fat is bad. Well, if I replace that now with a true belief, which is that, good quality saturated fat is a health food, now I know I'm gonna, that's actually gonna help you to improve the quality of your diet. Okay, so we always wanna move in the direction of from limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs and from false to true. So that's a good framework to, as you're going through the exercises, to consider your beliefs. You're always moving in that direction. Now that brings us to the second step, which is to ask the question, what do I want? And this is really, I think, this is the most exciting part of the whole process, and the one that most of us have spent some time doing. I know this is where, prior to getting into the Think by Design as a clear kind of process myself, I always had this one locked down. I'm a dreamer. I have a really, it might change, but I really like to have a clear idea of where I'm headed, to know what the horizon is that I'm moving toward. And so this is a really, I think a really fun exercise to do. And for those of you who received the follow-up email from last week, we mentioned this would be a good exercise to do as you're considering your beliefs, to just transition right into, okay, well, what is it that I want? When it comes to my health, what do I want? So if you haven't done that already, I'd encourage you to do that after, set aside 30 minutes and write out what it is that you want. One of the things that one of my great mentors, although, well, not a personal mentor, but someone that I really respect, Robin Sharma, some of you may of him, a great author, fellow Canadian, actually, high-level coach, performance coach. And he has this quote: "If people aren't laughing at your dreams aren't big enough." And the intention behind this quote is that, you know, we got to remove the shackles of your current reality and just expand your mind to think of like, well, if I could, the question I often ask in practice is, if you could just wave a magic wand and create the healthy body that you want, what does that look like? And I encourage practice members to come up with 10 things. And so that's what I'll put that to you guys, is to think through, okay, you know, magic wand, there's no, you know, remove for a moment any of the, your current reality, and just imagine, what would that look like? What would your health look like? And it's, as you start to consider it, what you'll feel is actually a little bit of, anxiety is maybe the right word, or some resistance, right? That little voice in your mind starts to chirp in and say like, oh, well, that's not possible, or like, I couldn't do that. That's, you know, oh, I couldn't run a marathon. That's like, I'm too old to do that. Or, you know, like, I've never been able to run that far. But if you have that dream, right, then write it down. That this is not the step to be challenging and limiting your vision. The goal is to actually build out a very comprehensive vision of what it is that you want. And in this case, when it comes to your health. So I wanted to just give you an example. I'll share one of my pages out of my my Life by Design manual. And this is just a subset of the things that I wrote down. So, you know, I want to be physically independent for my whole life. I want to have the same body today at 100. I want to be constantly and consistently working to increase the difference between biologic age and chronologic age. That's a big one. A lot of us, culture teaches us like, you gotta own the number, right? Okay, I turned 40 this year. There's a lot of subtle beliefs that are instilled in our culture about turning 40, right? I reject that, right? I don't believe that the number means a whole lot, right? It's about the health of my individual cells, and that's something that I have a ton of control over. And so there's individuals that have gaps, you know, that have been, there's ways of measuring your biologic age genetically, and it's not uncommon for really, really healthy people to have 30, 40 years difference between their chronologic age and their biologic age. Okay, it's a conversation for another day. You should certainly ask me the question at the end if you'd like to learn more. You can see there's a whole bunch of stuff. I won't go through each one, but I just wanted to give you some examples of how to do this step. So the question is, what do I want for my future health? And in this case, I included fitness. Once you have that, you know, this can be a bit of a fluid process, but let's say you take 30 minutes and you start to write down 10 things. Really, knowing what you want is one thing, but for most of us, you probably already have a good idea of what you want. You probably already know most of the stuff that you have to do, right? Which is like step 4. It's really getting the fuel to do it, right? To the motivation, the willpower. This is where this is where I still fall short all the time. Okay, this is I think a part of the human condition, and it's understanding why I want something. Is if I get really deep with that, that's going to help me to build resilience and willpower to stick to it. Purpose. This word I think it can get a little bit intimidating, right? To know like, what's my life purpose? That can be part of this conversation, but for today, I think it's safer, or it's easier to think about it just in terms of each one of those things you write down. So if I choose the statement, you know, I want to have the same body at 100 that I have today, or the same physical health that I have today, then, you know, I could ask the question, well, why is that important? Why is that important to me? And that leads to, okay, well, I want to be able to pursue the things that bring me joy and happiness. I want to be able to do trail running. Trail running is a big a pleasure of mine. It's something that I get a lot of value from. So I want to be able to still run the same trails or same type of trails at 100 that I do today. Okay, so that's, I can get really kind of specific instead of thinking about it as this big, like challenging or intimidating question, like what's my life purpose? It's a great question too, but you don't have to start there. One of the, I think a really important consideration, and to just give you some, really some permission to fail at this step over and over again. And this is why, okay, is that our brains are designed to be pain and pleasure driven. This is actually baked into your neurology. It comes from our evolutionary background. All other animals are, this is actually what motivates them, right? They want to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And pleasure in this case, in this context, is really about being able to find, you know, this could be as simple as finding shelter, finding food, and procreating, right? Those are really like three primaries of all other animals. So being pain and pleasure driven is baked into your neurology. You can't do anything about that. However, well, you can actually, there's one thing that you can do about it, and it's to understand that that's what's driving your behavior most of the time. Okay, and if you're a particularly unconscious behavior is driven by pain and pleasure, whereas purpose-driven is unique to humans, right? We are, well, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not an animal scientist, but to the best of my knowledge, we are the only animals that we can say are purpose-driven, meaning that we can actually go through short-term pain to create a long-term pleasure. And that's really, that's unique to humans. We can set out, we can have a vision for what we want 10 years from now, and we can do the hard work now and tomorrow and the next day, and go through a lot of pain in order to create the life that we want in the future. So that's what it is to be purpose-driven, is to be willing to do, it's the hard easy, right? It's the hard work now so that you can have the easy life later. When it comes to kind of identifying purpose, it really comes down to just thinking it through and journaling. I think that journaling is, you know, it gets a bit of a, there's a lot of pros and cons attached to journaling, but in this case, what I would encourage you, like that I suggested before, when you have your identified, let's say it's the top 10 things, the things that you want, and when it comes to your health, then you would take each one of those and just think through, well, why is that important? What is it, like, why is it that I want that? What does that bring in, what does that bring into my life that I don't currently have, or that will add value to my life? I'll give you an example. So I have actually spent an inordinate amount of time considering these questions. So when it comes to my purpose, my life purpose is to maximize freedom. Okay, freedom for me, for my family, and the community around me. That's my kind of overarching purpose. When it comes to my health, I know that the biggest factor for freedom is time, or certainly one of the primary components of freedom is time. And if I can increase the amount of time that I have on this planet, where I'm healthy and functioning at a high level, that's going to increase my amount of freedom. Okay, so and it's going to increase my capacity to show others how to increase the freedom in their life. Okay, and particularly through improving their health, so they can experience more freedom, whether that's in freedom in movement or freedom in terms of being able to play with their grandkids and great grandkids. So when it boils down to it, when I think of like showing up to the gym, lots of days I don't want to go, like I'm just like everyone else. I really it's challenging. But if I remind myself that, like, no, this is allowing me to maximize the degree of freedom that I have in my own life and my capacity to show others how to increase their own freedom, then it's like a no-brainer. Like, right, okay, show up, do the work. So this is, I just wanted to share some, of course, everyone's going to have their own purpose. I want to also be clear. I didn't start with these statements. Okay, my statements at the beginning were just like all over the place, and these are boiled down after lots of time iterating. So I don't want to set this expectation that like, oh, if you can't come up with really succinct statements, that you're failing. Okay, that's not the case. You just start where you're at. Okay, so then step 4. So step 1 is identifying the beliefs that you hold and making sure that they're true and empowering. Step 2 is creating your vision. Okay, so understanding what it is that you want. Step 3 is why do you want that? Why do you want those things? Step 4 is your action plan. So what are you going to do now that you have a clear idea of what it is that you want, and you're like super motivated? You got this, your purpose. When I read my purpose statements, I get kind of chills. Like it really, I get this emotional rush. Okay, and being a nerd, I know that means when I read that, I get this little dopamine hit in my brain, and that drives behavior. Okay, when it comes to your action plan, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is like, okay, if I say I want to have a fit and healthy body, which means that I need to, my goal is to lose some weight over the next period of time, then we need to have an action plan. You need to know how you're going to do that. So that's what step 4 is. So, and it also, there's lots of things that you could do, right? And lots of us, lots of people that get up on their soapbox. I've been guilty of this in the past. And I can tell you what you should do, right? But that actually is irrelevant, right? It's what are you willing to do given your current and future situation context. So Robin Sharma, another quote that I just love: "Ideas without action is delusion." Simple, right? We know that we can have ideas, or we can all hold a million ideas every day. But if we don't act on them, they're irrelevant. Aristotle, all the way back 2,000 years ago, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. This is where in Life by Design, the way we've simplified this statement is health is a process, not an event. Meaning we need to identify what are the habits that will actually, repeated consistently over time will get you the result that you want. Simple example, if you want to, so for me, okay, if I want to have a fit and healthy body at 100, the same or similar to what I have today, then that means I need to exercise. I need to go to the gym, follow a regimen 3 to 4 days a week forever. And that's, that is just the reality. I can't evade that. There's no other method for me to maintain, grow and maintain a healthy body. So it's identifying the habits that will allow you to create the things that you want in your life. And I think this is what we've really attempted to do with the whole Life by Design program, is to at least give you some starting points. Okay, give you some suggestions, strategies that we've seen work in the past with others, based on reality, based on, again, the beliefs that we believe hold up when you compare them against facts and reality. Life by Design is simply, it's a set of processes. And when we talk, next month is actually our Eat by Design series. And there we talk about nutrition. So, if you wanted to build a healthy diet, what would be some great principles to follow? Move by Design is all about building a healthy movement practice. I actually like to remove the word exercise, or not remove, but substitute the word exercise for movement, because ultimately exercise is just a subset. Movement is the principle. Movement is the thing that your body needs. And there's various forms of movement that are shown to be the most beneficial to maintain or optimize the function of the body. So that's what Move by Design is all about. Think by Design, we're talking about optimizing the mind so that you can have the greatest state of clarity. And Powered by Design, this is what we do in the practice. So those of you who are practice members, you know that this is what we talk about day in, day out, is the health of the brain-body connection. Of course, your brain controls everything in your body. It needs a healthy conduit. It needs to be able to communicate clearly between the brain and body, and that occurs through the spine. So if the spine's unhealthy, that means that connection is disrupted or interfered with, and that's not a good thing. That's going to hold you back from being able to express the health that you want. So Life by Design is just a great set of strategies. So certainly, if you haven't joined us for the other workshops, we'll be starting up next week with Eat by Design. So you'll get emails about that. Okay, so I wanted to just recap here so that you have clarity, because we've really talked about the first category. Okay, what it is that you believe when it comes to health? What do you want for your health? What does that look like? What's your vision for your health? Why do you want that? And then what are you willing to do to get it? If all you took away from this is asking those 4 questions related to your health, I'm confident, I would bet money that that would be transformative for your life. Okay, and you could just stop at that one branch, and it would trickle down into all the other branches. That's why it's number 1. The other branches, as we talked about briefly, so my intellect is all about the actual health of your mind itself. In the manual, we will actually, we have gone through and given you sort of more details as to like how we define each one of these branches. My inner state, as we talked about, spirituality, my family, my relationships, my career, my finances. A career could also be that could be your life path. Okay, so I mean, if whether it's if that shows up as a career or a vocation, my finances, a relationship to money, and then my legacy. What is it that you want to, what impact you want to leave on this planet? So those are the 8 branches, and you're asking these 4 questions. Okay, so that is in a nutshell what we've covered. My time is almost up here. I've gone, I guess, 4 minutes over. I stuck 30 minutes. What I want to do is I'm going to just open this up for questions. Let me just get out of this show here. And if anyone has any questions, I will just unmute. Unmute all. Here we go. Perfect. So now everyone should be unmuted. You're welcome to verbally ask questions, or if you want to, I'll just check the chat here. I don't see any chats, any comments in the chat. But if you have any questions, now's the time. Of course, you can always follow up with email as well. So I'll just give a moment. We'll stop sharing my screen too. So now we can see my face a bit more clearly here. So Maureen asks, will you be, let me see, will you be able to send us a slideshow? Yes, so I'm going to be, I'll be including the recording. So hopefully, Maureen, hopefully that is sufficient. In the recording, you'll be able to see the images. If that's not enough, let me know. I'm happy to send you the slide deck. Okay, so you can see the actual images. Awesome, good question. We will set up, what we'll do is in our summary email, we'll include the links to all the recordings once again, in case you've missed them. We'll send the manual. We also have a My Life by Design planner. That's the word I was missing before. It's actually an Excel doc, not the greatest to work with, but you'll get a good sense of how to organize this. In fact, for those of you still on here, I'll just show you what this looks like here. So this is my life book is a process that Dr. Craig mentioned last week, something that I went through. And basically you just, this could be a way that you could structure it. So you have your belief statements. You could break them down, define them even more clearly. Talk about your vision, like what is it that you want, be clear about identifying all those things that you want when it comes to your, in this case, to your health. Discuss your purpose. So like, what is it that you're, that's driving your behaviors? And then discuss your strategy. So I think doing it, whether it's digital or whether it's you're doing this on paper, I think digital is a preferable, because that gives you the opportunity to go back and edit a bit more easily. Yes, I will be sending the planner as well. So Marina also asked that question.
This isn't a question, okay. John, it's a comment more than anything else. Your seminars have been excellent. Sort of real eye-opener.
Thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate that. That's something that we've been getting a lot of feedback, and it's we're so grateful to get the feedback. And actually, we love positive feedback because it feels good to get positive feedback. We're also totally open to constructive feedback. So especially right now, because normally we'd be running these workshops live in person. As a 90-minute workshop, we'd be doing it all as one. Right now, we're definitely in a state of flux, breaking them down into different sections. So if you have any comments, I know there's some teachers on here. I'd love to get anyone's feedback on any things that we can improve upon, so that as we run these again in the next quarter, we can do an even better job. But thank you, Ron. I appreciate that.
I actually like the shorter segments instead of a longer one. It makes you think about it in a longer period of time. So I find that very good. And again, I really enjoyed this session as well. Okay, well, thank you so much, Catherine. That's I think we've received that feedback a few times. The breaking down into shorter sections has actually been really helpful. And it's helpful for us too to we can really be very focused on the message that we're communicating each week. So that's great feedback. Okay, last chance for questions. Otherwise, I am super grateful for all of you for showing up. That tells me a lot about who you are and the type of character you hold. So way to go, prioritizing your health on this beautiful Thursday. We will be sending out the recordings, and we'll be back actually next Thursday for our first workshop of Eat by Design. So look out for that email from Dr. Craig and I. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you guys all hopefully next week. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Bye.